Let's head down to Kev Harris. What have you got, Kev?
Johnny, I have found your favourite and my favourite, the Ragtime races, and my old pal Ed Archer is alongside me. Ed, great to see you here again from the Velocity Invitational. Just give the folks around the world right now a bit of a heads up. Tell us what the Ragtime races are all about.
Well, the Ragtime racers are a pre-1920 group of cars, nothing newer than 1920, and we're an exhibition class, so we're not out there competing for any amount of money, but we're out there really putting the foot into that accelerator.
You really are putting the foot in the accelerator. But back in the day, these were the cars that were competing for any amount of money. These were racing cars at the cutting edge of, well, 1915 in the case of your car here.
The cutting edge, these were on the cutting edge, and you look at these little narrow tires, there's not a lot of traction there, and not much braking ability. You only have 2 rear wheel brakes and little narrow tires, so you have to drive accordingly.
Absolutely, and around here at Laguna Seca, going down the corkscrew on a slightly damp morning like it is today, it's going to be quite a hairy ride.
It is.
You've got a young man riding alongside you today who's never been in one of these before. What's he got to look forward to?
Well, hang on for dear life.
And just tell us about the car that you're in. I've just said it is a 1915, I believe.
1915 Ford, Model T Ford based race car.
Yeah.
And it's got about 55 horsepower and a top speed of over 100 miles an hour. And so, yeah.
A top speed of over 100 miles an hour, sitting in something that is 100 years old in the open air. I mean, Ed.
Yeah, and on wooden spoke wheels.
On wooden spoke wheels and on skinny rubber tires. I mean, it must take a lot of work, Ed, to keep these cars in the conditions so that they're safe to run.
It is. It really is. Yeah. Yep. It's very challenging sometimes.
Yeah, I can well imagine. Well, I think we got behind you now. There are people putting their arms up in the air, giving us, I think, the 5-minute signal. What we'll do, if you want to get in and get ready, I'll get Sky around here. This young man, this is your passenger, isn't it? Let's get him round here. Yeah. I'll stay here. Sky, young man, Sky, give him a tap for me. I'm going to run and get him. Come on in here. We're crossing generations here. This is the young man that's about to go out with Ed. Sky, I was just chatting to you before. Have you any idea what you're about to experience?
Slightly. Never been in a car like this before, especially on a damp surface, so not really knowing what to expect right now.
Tell us how you came to be lucky enough to be getting the hot laps, the passenger lap with Ed today.
Lucky enough to become friends with my man Zach, wherever he is. His father's actually driving the blue 16 right now.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of cars here, and you've ended up sort of hanging out with the Ragtime racers. Tell me, are these pre-1920 cars something that you're really interested in?
Not really, but I might be after this. Might be.
But you're a car fan like many of the people who are here today.
Absolutely.
What other cars are you looking forward to seeing? Any particular marks or any particular eras of car that you're looking forward to?
I am super into the Euro scene. I actually love BMWs from the 90s and 80s and 70s.
BMWs from the 90s and 80s. Well, I'm sure there's plenty of them. Let's just hop you in the hot seat then. Let's get Sky set up on here. So yeah, this is really quite something, and the Ragtime races are here all weekend. There's a lady now hitting a whistle, I think 1, 2 or 3 times. We've probably got about 3 minutes to go on this one, but it does really draw quite the crowd down here at Laguna Seca, because I think there's about sort of 20 odd cars about to go on track, and as Ed has said, they're going to drive them and they're going to start putting their foot to the floor. So the car may be 100 years old, but they're really going to go for it. Looks like we got the 2-minute call on this one now, which is fantastic. And the noise around here is quite something as they rev them up. A lot of these cars, of course, back in the day took a lot of their engineering from the aero industry, which is why you see these long bonnets and the kind of engines that you would have seen in, the flying machines back in the day. And today here at Laguna Seca, these guys are going to fly around the track like nothing that you have seen. I promise you of that. A moment or two ago as well, with the way that the mist is running here, when they start blatting the accelerator, the exhaust fumes and fog, this whole area was covered in a cloud of fog. Taylor is waiting up in Velocity Lane. I think what's going to happen is these guys are going to head on up and go to the Velocity Lane and park up there before they go out on track. So we'll give them a second or two to go out, and then we'll see if she can get a chat with them just before they go live. But they're running today, they're running again tomorrow, and if you are anywhere in the area and you can come on down and see them, I thoroughly recommend it. Looks like we're getting ready to go. So yeah, we're off and rolling. First 2 or 3, they're making their way out to the track. Turn him up, the lady's giving it the finger waggle. Once that finger starts to wiggle, there goes Ed. Good luck, Sky, good luck, Ed. They're off, they're rolling, and away they go then. An incredible sight, an incredible sound here at Laguna Seca. It's only the second of I don't know how many sessions out on track this weekend at what is arguably the best car show happening anywhere in the world right now. I mean, where can you come to a car show and see 1920s racers or pre-1920s racers like this, still running at over 100 miles an hour, alongside cars that have been designed by a computer and 3D printed in the case of the Zinger, which does 0 to 63 in 1.9 seconds. Think about that for a moment. Right, so the cars have headed on up then to Velocity Road. The last of them just getting set and ready to go now. I wonder if Taylor is up there, and maybe we can get a camera on them up there at Velocity Road. Taylor, are you there?
So, as you can see, they're out on track. I think Taylor's gone with them, actually. Anyway, they're out on track now. So away they go. And as they hit the track, I will start to give you a little information as to who we've got there. But let's just start with some basic information about the actual cars. Now, yes, it's a very nice thing to get a passenger ride. Yes, of course it is. But there's actually method to the madness. This is how they raced back in the day. There were no mirrors. In fact, it was Ray Haroon, the man who won the first ever Indy 500, who, we got a problem here with the number 2. Now, what's up with that? That's the 1917 Ford racer, Chris Helling, the driver, and he is, as you can see, just behind, or just trying to fettle the wheel as the starter. But that's why they had a passenger, for exactly what you just saw. 2 reasons. One, to start the motor from the front while the driver was able to fettle the throttle. The other was as a spotter. Now, you'll know in NASCAR and IndyCar and generally speaking modern day racing, we all have spotters. Well, they had spotters back then, but they sat alongside and looked back until the mirror was invented. So that is why they have a passenger here in the Ragtime races. But what a beautiful sign. I've actually had the opportunity to go out in these cars myself and do a passenger ride. A lot of fun indeed. Starting to fill up here in the paddock. Really delightful to see these cars. There goes the number 19 just getting out. Capable, look at that. That's the National Speedway Roadster. That's one of my favorite. Eric Ramos driving that one, just coming out of the paddock now. The car you're looking at on screen, that's the Packard from 1912, and the number 20, that's the National Indy Racer from 1911. Think about that, folks. 1911. Not 2011, 1911. Look at that steering wheel. And the belief was there was no need for safety belts because it was felt that it was less dangerous to just fall out, roll out of the car if you got in trouble back in the day. So yes, it wouldn't be something that we'd necessarily advise. Now, this is the only group that we call an exhibition because obviously these guys, skilled as they are, don't really want to break any of these precious cars. They are absolutely priceless. And so really enjoying seeing them in action here at Laguna Seca. And incidentally, these exhibitors, if you will, these ragtime racers, actually do this exhibition around the United States at many of the historic events. I've seen them at Indianapolis, and I've seen them in other places too. And they basically formed in, 2018. And they are 400-year-old race cars traveling as a show across the United States. And yes, a little bit of smoke coming out of that one. Let's see if he makes it. But they do a good job. He'll stay off the line. That's a good, smart move. But it's a great opportunity, and these guys will do 2 or 3 sessions as the weekend goes on. So if you are here at the venue, please come down to the Ragtime races and come and take a closer look. They're very welcoming. They'll let you sit. They'll let you take their photograph in a classic for your own edification. Now, which is that car that's smoking? I'm going to try and get the number on that. As we can see it from the drone, he's coming out of turn 10 and heading down. I was going to say, it looks as though he might pit, but no. It's number 9, and in fact, that's the Locomobile. He may as well be. Sounds like a locomotive right now, and that is the grey Locomobile of Tom Malloy, who's at the wheel, and it's smoking a bit, but then again, that doesn't matter. I think he's just going to go with it. It's a bit of smoke. What the heck? As long as he's not perturbed by it or not worried by it, then... And you can see the 20 is looking across going, are you okay? That's the National Indy Racer in blue. And so on we go. The green flag waves and we are racing. And incidentally, that number 9 now leading despite the smoke. Maybe we'll clear it up. Looks as though Kev's just joined me. And as we look at the number 4, Kev, you took a close look at the Ford Racer, that yellow one, the Ed Archer that we're looking at. Was there any particular favourite you liked?
Well, Johnny, I've just run from the Ragtime Racers workshop, which is just at the entrance to the setup here at Laguna Seca. And it really is quite something. I haven't had a chance to have a full look around the 15 or 20 cars that they've got down there yet. But I chatted to Ed Archer last year, and it was great to see him back again this year. That's a 1915 Ford T Racer there, 4-cylinder, 177 cubic inches on that one. And when you stand alongside these cars, you just can't fathom what they're doing. That car is over 100 years old. As Ed said, he's going to be doing 100 miles an hour. It could go 100 miles an hour. I think on a slightly damp track today here at Laguna Seca, if he does 50 or 60 miles an hour, you're going to know all about it. But he did say to me that he's going to put his foot to the floor and go for it on the accelerator. So he's not messing around. And, as he said, on wooden wheels as well.
Perlman Artillery wooden wheels, to be exact, with a frame and chassis made of steel and wood. As we take a look at the number 18, I kid you not, Romano Studevant. Look at that, isn't that a beauty?
Yeah, and that's Brian Blaine who's driving that one there, I think, if I see that correctly.
You're right.
And I think Brian's the chap that's in charge of all of these, and I'm really looking forward to just catching up with him over the course of the weekend, because it's a really good vibe and it's a really good buzz down there when you're sort of in amongst it and you're chatting to them. And what's really good as well is, I mean, you know, let's face it, you know, I'm an older gentleman. Some of these chaps are, you know, kind of a certain age. But there's also a lot of youngsters getting involved down there, getting on the wrenches, getting on the spanners, learning how to tune them, learning how to keep them running. So I think that the health of these Ragtime racers is in good hands. The younger generation are stepping up to keep them running.
Now, the BF Studevant, as we were just mentioning there, was best known as the world's largest industrial fan manufacturer of all things. There you go. But somehow the Romano Special came out of them making fans. And they made, when the First World War was raging in Europe, the Studevant Aeroplane Company of 1950 to 1980 was formed as a parent company to develop military aircraft. And they used their knowledge of blower technology to build some of the first supercharged engines. And what you're looking at in this number 18 Maroon Romano Special is a supercharged 220 brake horsepower engine.
That is incredible. 220 brake horsepower from 1916. That really is. And supercharged as well. That is nuts. This was, as Ed said there, as I put the question to him, this was cutting-edge technology of the day. Really incredible. And it's great that at the Velocity Invitational we're showing these cars alongside what is the cutting edge of technology of today. Some of the supercars and hypercars that we've got here are just mind-bendingly clever in how they're built and how they work.
I think, and it's also part of what Jeffrey O'Neill's vision for this event was and should be, which is exactly that. We're looking at maybe a problem for the 1920 Ford, Oh, that's the number 16. Yeah, I don't know what's going on at Stoke Bauer. He seems to be, well.
We got a little bit of pumping with the left hand going in there. Is that a fuel pump?
It could well be. That to me looks like he's trying to pump the fuel and get a better mix. All good?
Yeah, I think we're
good. Very serious look on his face. I like the helmet. I like the juxtaposition between the old style helmet and the brand new helmet of the driver. Love it.
Yeah, and there's some youngsters getting a real treat here today.
Oh yeah.
The lad Sky that was jumping in with Ed Archer in the 1915 yellow number 4 car. I don't know whether he was quite prepared for what was about to happen, but he certainly was looking forward to it.
Now that is the Packard. Excuse me, I've led you astray. There's two 16s out there.
Okay.
So that's Fiat Hidalgo in the Packard from 1912. That.
Well, what I love about that, look at the passenger's position there, Johnny. He's got his feet absolutely locked on the footboard there. He is wedged in position because there is little to nothing holding you in on these cars when you go around the corner. You've got to hang on and press hard and try to stay put on the seat.
Now, if I said to you, you've got drum brakes on your car, you'd say, well, that's a bit old-fashioned. But actually, no, these were the real deal back then. Back in the day, these were the drum rear only, I may add, on this 2012 Packard. Now, who we got now? The 21. Here we go. The Hudson from 1916.
Look
cracking. Now watch him lean. Now he's not doing that for effect.
No.
He's doing that to balance the car.
He's doing that to balance the car for sure. And when you look at a car like that one there, Johnny, you really get a sense of the aero engineering that went into these things. Under that bonnet, under that huge long hood of that 21, there's the cylinders, the mechanics, pumping away and throbbing away that, were the aero engines of the day, as you said there.
Yeah, and one thing that you need to think about when you look at these cars and wonder why they have such a cumbersome look or such a large engine is that motor racing basically developed their engines in the aeroplane world. So basically World War I and World War II were effectively testing grounds for the engines that became the racing car engines. Now, of course, they've got smaller and smaller, and you'll see examples later today of Formula One cars where it's all packed in the same, but even more power into a much smaller space. But when they started out, they just took aeroplane engines, plonked them in there, and said, let's go racing.
Let's see what happens, exactly. And this is what happens. And there was a glorious scene there as well as the number 16 car, the blue one there, when it started to just sort of glide down the corkscrew. It must be an amazing feeling when you start to get, line it up right and point it down a hill like that, because, gravity starts to add to your overall speed. It must be a great sense of freedom as well, sitting up that high, with your head flapping in the wind.
This is the National Speed Roadster, Eric Ramos at the wheel of that beautiful number 19.
Look at it, from 1911, that car, Johnny, there. It's getting even older. What is our oldest one? It's, I think, 1911.
1911, I think.
Hang on, no, wait a minute. The number 9 car is in 1908.
A
the
Locomobile.
Look out for that one.
That was the one smoking earlier on.
That was a huge cloud of smoke down there, by the way, at the Ragtime Racers garage earlier.
This was built by the National Motor Vehicle Company, and 1,713 were built in 1911. 4-cylinder, 450 cubic inches, and 50 brake horsepower. 3-speed, non-synchro, with leather cone clutch.
That is quite remarkable. I'm just as well. Just the chap that owns this is he's got quite a heritage as well.
Yeah, the guy who owns this car is Charles Deep Test, the great-great-grandson of the founder and president of the National Car Company. So talk about keeping it in the family and also keeping that history going. That's pretty impressive.
That is really impressive. It's great to have not only all these cars here, but the heritage that goes with them. Here's the number 9 car then. This is that 1908 Locomobile.
Or is it the Franklin Desert Racer?
Could be.
No, it's the Desert Racer. It's the grey. Sean DeLuna at the wheel. Yeah. He's on his own, poor lad. You should join him. Balance him out.
Whoa. Do you know, I actually really would like to have a go in these, John.
I've been out once.
Have you been out once?
Yeah. I went out in that number 16. Oh, it's scary as all heck. But it's great. No, it's really good. They loved, and they talk you all the way through it. They tell you what they're doing and why, and they show you a little bit about the car. And it's so exhilarating. It really is, because you might be doing maybe 60 miles an hour, but it feels like 200.
Yeah. It really would, because you're sitting up so high, and you've got all of the the air and the elements sort of blowing against you as you go around the corners there, and it takes a lot of work. It's very physical to keep these cars going. You'll see them reaching for the brakes that sometimes might be a handbrake, as we saw there. One of the guys just keeping the fuel pumping with by hand as well, the manual fuel pump to keep them running. So it's a really physical thing. I can see some pickup trucks chasing this one down.
Yes, that's a 1911 Ford. No, it's not. So somebody's got conked out, but that's not to it's the yellow. It's the yellow car that that came out first.
That's a shame.
What a shame.
Yeah,
but we're looking at that number 19, that Hall Scott engine, San Francisco, California manufacturer, a Hall Scott racer from 1917. And again, the Hall Scott Engine Company was primarily an aircraft engine builder with facilities at Emeryville, California, and Indianapolis. So exactly what I was saying, which is, they come from an era where the airplane engine was much used and developed in motor racing, and it went both ways, of course. As the racing cars wanted to go faster and wanted to go smaller, that also helped the air industry as well. I'll tell you what, I'll make you a bet.
Go on.
I'll make you a bet. Mika Hakkinen's here, right?
He is.
Patricia Pato Award's here.
Yeah.
Right? I bet you $1,000 neither one of them would go near one of these machines. They wouldn't.
They might not.
No, I don't believe it.
And I'm sure later on we'll be catching up with them.
I'll lay down the gauntlet.
When I see them later on, and Pato is an excitable young man. If I said to him, look, there's $1,000 on the line here, Pato, do you fancy a go? He would probably take it, actually. But on the side, quietly, he might think twice about that one.
Beautiful sights and sounds here at Laguna Seca. It's early morning here on the first day of the Velocity Invitational. Welcome, one and all. We've got some great guests. We've got some fantastic stars of motor racing and the history of motor racing. And there's no question that the real stars, of course, are the cars themselves, and they are in full glory. Still a little smoky on that one car coming down the hill out of the corkscrew down towards Rainy Curve. But I just think he's got a little bit of a mixture problem, but he's all right.
I think so. And for a moment there, Johnny, we were sort of reminded of days of old as those three cars were almost side by side. We had some overtaking action going on there. There was the undercut. Look at this. They're not afraid to put their foot to the floor and get the best out of these cars that they can. What a great scene now then, 2, 4, 5 cars in the one shot.
Did they give you any, I mean, like I said, they exhibit these cars all over the United States. Did they give you any idea just how long it takes to prepare them and work them?
I did chat to Ed about that. He said it takes an awful lot of work. He didn't say how long it takes, but in his instance, as the checkered flag flies, there we go. Look at that.
Sways across the line. Well done. And the Ragtime racers, and it is the number 9 who smoked his way at the beginning, and I think that is the 1908 Locomobile.
Yeah.
There's 3 number 9s. Or
Three
Polish
number
Stanley
9s.
Mini. It is. It's the Hall Scott. The
Aluminium.
1917 Hall Scott that wins, and that is a California entry. Good deal. Yeah, the Hall Scott. So well done to him. And he started off with smoky. He ended up smoky, and he swayed across the line and won it in style. Lovely. I love that tail too, isn't that?
It's super, isn't it?
Space age,
it is
really.
super. And again, once again, coming back to the aero engineering, look at the exhaust pipes just coming out on the left-hand side of the front of that bonnet there. You know, could be the exhaust pipes of a Spitfire or a Hurricane or something else from back in the day. And also shades of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang about that
Yes.
one, I would say there, Johnny.
I'll give you that.
From the classic film.
It's either that or those magnificent men in their flying machines. That's all I can think about. I know that's an airplane reference, but it still works.
Yeah. And there was a chap down there who really did look like Dick Dastardly from the Wacky Races.
I remember the Wacky Races.
He had retro gauntlets that were up to his elbows and a set of leather knee-high boots. Look at the position in that number 20 car the driver's sitting in.
Absolutely.
He's almost
glorious.
laid fully backwards, trying to wedge his feet up against like the foot plate just up by the accelerator there to keep himself in position.
And I'll tell you one thing that, you said, what's it like? I mean, you really do get an understanding of the balance as you go from side to side. You feel yourself leaning because the car is doing that. It's moving underneath you.
Yeah.
And you do want to lean because you feel like it's going to rock over.
Yeah.
It doesn't, obviously. But it feels like it's going to do that.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I'm sitting here watching this, Johnny, and I've got a big smile on my face. I am beaming. I can only imagine what it's like for those guys out there on track, you know, in those race helmets right now, the smile must be from ear to ear, because you spend all year looking after this thing and keeping it running and making sure it looks nice and it's polished and it's shiny and everything. But then when you get it on track and you actually feel what it's like once again, you get your hand on the steering wheel, it just must be something else. Just must make you smile.
Absolutely. What are you going to go and find next? What's your
I don't know, Johnny. I don't know.
Well, I want to send you over to the rally boys, because they're ready to go.
Yes, yeah. The
Bring
guys
back
from
Benjamin
Rally.
Pedersen. I bet you he wouldn't. He just signed for AJ Foyt in IndyCars, and he's got a rally pedigree, but as well as an Indy Lights top man for the last couple of years. I bet you he wouldn't get in one of these. Well, listen, Mike, thanks to Kev Harris. He'll be out bebopping about in the next few minutes and for the rest of the day. We'll take a short break here. The Ragtime racers have been won. Their first outing was won by a Hall Scott racer from California, San Francisco. Well done to him. We'll be right back.